Doing all right. Just a little toasty, but
Yeah, it is warm with these Santa Ana conditions we're having.
yeah, I hate this weather. Like, I was enjoying it for a while, and it's always like my favorite time of year because it's just great weather. All the plants are starting to grow in, and then the heat hits, and life is awful.
Yeah, because the thing people need to realize about Southern California is the reports are true that the weather is great. But anytime we have to deal with something outside of a 10-degree sort of difference, we're like, this sucks.
Yeah.
If it's lower than 70 or higher than 70, we're like, this is terrible.
Exactly. It's spoiled rotten.
Right? But you stinking pay for the niceness.
Yeah.
There we go. All right. So you wanted to bring up an important topic, and that was Gumby.
It's a cultural icon.
Right.
Gumby, the clay guy. I don't have a ton of knowledge on the character. Like, I watched it a little, like had a couple tapes of it as a kid on VHS.
Yeah, if I recall, I'll look it up while you talk, but it comes from the same studio that made Davy and Goliath.
I believe it.
And they were somehow associated with the Lutheran Church.
I didn't know. Oh.
I'll look it up to make sure, but I'm pretty sure they were somehow associated with the Lutheran Church.
All right. Wasn't aware of those details.
Gumby's Christian background.
Of course. Weird. Regardless, though, I know Gumby starts in like the 50s.
Yeah.
I I looked it up because I saw this on a hit news website, IGN. And they had the thing on Gumby. It was in the 50s and 60s on Howdy Doody. And then spun back into popularity in the 80s because everything from the 50s came back into being cool in the 80s as things go on those 30-year cycles.
Right. Yeah, like Happy Days was a thing in the 80s.
Yes, exactly. So Gumby, the little wonderful clay guy that he is, they're bringing him back for live action, which is technically what it always was, because I mean it was stop motion clay, but it's just so weird that this is the character that they're like, you know what, we're bringing him back. This is what the kids want, and we know they want it because we're going to make NFTs for it.
Oh, okay. I see what it is here. It's more that the people who made Gumby got hired later to make Davy and Goliath by the Lutheran Church.
Okay,
so that makes more sense now.
all right, that makes a tad bit more sense. But we can...
Like, why would they make a Gumby show?
We can now connect the Lutheran Church to NFTs. Which is a disgusting thing to connect, but you know.
Right.
So Fox acquired the live action rights just recently for it. We'll see when and how and what they produce with it. But again, I suppose it's better than doing an animated thing because that would take literally all of the charm of a clay blob away, is to make it animated and not a clay blob.
Yeah. It seems like part of the charm of the show was that it was clay stop motion.
Yeah.
And how things just sort of melted into...
Yeah, it was... Again, I haven't watched it in a long time since I was probably like, I don't even know, like 8, if that.
I mean, you haven't watched it in the past
No, I don't watch it annually, unfortunately. I don't have a Gumby watching day. But it did have a very surreal visual aesthetic to it.
Well, it came out of the like 60s era.
Yeah.
And people were doing a lot of drugs back then.
Yes.
And I'm not saying the creators were, but I think the people that were doing drugs were watching it and loving it.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Like you watch, what was that, Sid and Marty Krofft, and just a lot of the other stuff. And that's where you get those great Spider-Man memes.
Yeah.
From that period of time. There's just insanity going on.
Yeah. Like, the only thing that I remember is the VHS tape we had of Gumby had something with like a Kachina doll, like one of the Indian Kachina dolls for corn. It was Gumby and his horse Pokey.
Yeah.
I think his cowboys or something with the Indians, and they had to like summon the rain for the corn.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. I literally could not tell you more other than it was a very visually stunning program to the probably 5 to 6 year old that I was.
Right. Yeah, the amazing thing about it, yeah, because when you're a kid, it like blows your mind because you're just walking through walls
Yes.
and all that type of stuff. So, anyways, to get on to the what's happening now, they're changing it to just animated.
It's live action is
Oh my
what they
gosh,
say.
that's even more
But I'm
terrifying.
like, I don't know if that means like they're going to bring out Eddie Murphy in a costume again, like he did for SNL, and just do Gumby that way. Or
I really hope so.
yeah, because they said specifically live action, not stop motion, not animation, live action.
Yeah, live action means people are doing the roles.
But they also said like the new Lion King was live action, even though it was all CG, just realistic looking animals. So I don't know if it's. Are they gonna throw Gumby into like New York or something? Like just have him,
Yeah.
and then everything else is real.
Like have that one of those guys wear that weird morph suit with the ping pong balls on it, and then map Gumby to the guy.
Yeah.
In the real world.
Yeah.
Kind of like why did they didn't do that with Sonic? But still, how Sonic is in a real world.
Yes. Yes.
I don't know how they're gonna do it. It's gonna be weird.
I have no hope for it whatsoever because of the fact that they said they have NFT plans for it. And if there's any 3 letters that can kill my hope in something, it's NFT.
Well, it sounds like it's one of those things where a bunch of executives got together and put a bunch of sort of buzzwords and things that are quote unquote hot at the time among the kids, quote unquote.
Yeah.
And then they pulled it out and they're like, Gumby, live action, NFTs, let's do it.
But because it's Gumby, that means they were looking at their childhood and saying, this is what the kids will like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't get it. It's so bizarre. But I just like that so many of the NFT stuff is beginning so much backlash that all the companies basically are, oh, yeah, no, we're actually not going to do that. Because I know Atari tried to do it because Atari is just a corpse that's being paraded around as, man, remember them?
Yeah.
They tried to do NFTs, and then everyone was like, no, that's stupid, and yelled at them. And then Atari was like, oh, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Ubisoft, however you pronounce the French company, they tried to do some. Konami, the scumbags that they are, tried to do some because all they are about is money-making schemes, mostly pachinko machines.
It's terrible.
I
remember playing Akari Warriors as a kid. That was Konami.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't even know if that game is beatable. Because I think I beat it one day, but it kind of just froze. So I don't know.
That's how you win the game.
Yeah.
Is if you're able to just step away from it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so much nonsense with all that, but
I think, excuse me, that when it comes to this stuff, like with NFTs and everything, it sort of reminds me of the whole tulip bulb thing in Holland hundreds of years ago. Yeah. Where, yes, tulip bulbs are valuable. Yeah. But just because everybody's buying them doesn't mean they're now $2,000 a bulb.
Yes.
And because people want to make money quick, and then it attracts all those types of people. Yeah. Because I guess there could be some use for a non-fungible token, NFT. But everybody's just trying to make a quick buck. And that's not what it's there for.
Yeah, I don't understand how it is. It makes sense with the crypto nonsense that this is the natural trajectory of crypto money laundering. Right. Like you need some way to do it. Right. If regular currency can be laundered, we can do it too, kind of thing. It's just lame.
That's what I think a lot of this stuff is just money laundering.
Yeah. I mean, that's going on with the video game market right now and selling retro games. Oh, yeah. Because I think you saw the video where the dude's breaking down that none of these prices are real.
Yeah.
This is like 3 or 4 guys all coming together who want to just make money and see, well, this market hasn't had a bubble yet, so we can do it now.
Yeah, and then you pump and dump it.
Yep.
I think that's one of the things that people don't quite understand is value is subjective.
Yes.
And just because something is expensive doesn't mean it's valuable. It just depends on who's looking at it and what they're willing to pay.
Exactly.
That's basically what it is.
That's what I've seen. Because the funniest thing is all of the nonsense. Because I mentioned to you we were driving on Saturday or whenever. Yeah, it was Saturday. That I have taken a look at a Ford Bronco because it's a cool car, and when I get money, I'd like to get one. But so Ford dealerships are like screwing customers over for them.
Oh, wow.
Like raking you over the coals with like a $30,000 markup, like literally twice the price of the car
Oh, my gosh.
in markup.
Just because so many people are wanting them.
Yeah. And so it's just disgusting to see. But nobody's actually paying that much for them.
Huh.
And so Ford is like yelling at all the dealers, like, stop it. You're not going to get any new cars this year. We're not going to send them to you if we find out that you've been doing this.
Oh, so it's not necessarily Ford, it's the dealer.
Yeah, it's the dealer trying to make a quick buck on it all.
That's like when the lockdown's first happening. Remember that guy who bought all the like hand sanitizer?
Yes. The guy who was like, I can make my money now. Here we go.
I mean, I'm all for people making money or whatever, but if you're just trying to game a system to make a quick buck, that's so lame.
Yeah, it's stupid. But so, like I said, with the Ford stuff, nobody has actually been buying the cars at that price. So it's like, I mean, there have been a few, but not enough to where it's like, this is where the market says things are. This is how much it's worth.
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's worth what Ford has said it is, and people want it at that price.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's weird, like the whole video game thing. By making the price higher, it created a buzz, and then more people bought in, artificially inflated the price more.
Yeah.
And then you feel bad for these kids getting involved in it.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, bubbles happen all the time because it's people seeing, oh, there's a community that likes a thing.
Yeah.
We can exploit that.
Right.
Because the video game industry, I remember when things were selling for 300,000 and that was record breaking. And then all of a sudden it's like, all right, in the next day, million, 3 million. You're like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Because none of the people who are paying that actually care about video games.
Oh, yeah.
It's 100% just, I can make my money doing this. Buy it and sell it that way.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. I mean, back to the tulips. That's exactly what it was. It was no one actually cared about tulips. It was, man, these tulips are valuable. I should buy and sell them.
Right. Yeah, because there's just those whole class of people just want to make a quick buck. It's like, can I buy it today and make like 10% more tomorrow?
Yeah.
That's all it's about.
Bunch of hooey.
So, I wanted to talk about something really important.
Yes.
And that is, I should have queued up some scary music for this or something. But there's going to be 6 more weeks of winter, according to Puxatawny Phil.
Granted, with how the weather is today, I'm not too disappointed. Yes, it is the all-important Groundhog Day, a truly celebrated and honored tradition here in America.
Yeah, every February 2nd.
Yeah.
And I looked it up because my knowledge of Groundhog Day is from the movie by the same name.
That's almost anyone's knowledge. Like, I genuinely don't think that the holiday existed until that movie came out.
Yeah. All I know is it's sort of a large rodent, whether or not he sees his shadow.
Yes.
And then that foretells winter.
Yes.
That's basically it. But I was looking it up, and there's actually a lot of lore to it in history.
Yeah.
That's the thing that blew my mind.
It's so wild that there's like this secret cult that does all of this, and we're just like, yep, the groundhog cult. This is normal. This is how we determine winter in America.
Because it started out in the late 1800s, but even then, it sort of came from Pennsylvania Dutch, which are actually Germans, which is even more fun. People don't know. Those wacky Germans just had this tradition of sort of foretelling winter type things, and then there was links into the Catholic celebration of Candlemas, which is Jesus being presented at the temple when he was a kid. Anyways, the point is, I think it got mixed in sort of with tourism because it was a yearly thing.
Yeah.
And interesting to note about the movie Groundhog Day, he said before Groundhog Day, nobody really knew about it. On average, they would have 2,000 to 3,000 people before Groundhog Day. Now, after Groundhog Day, they have easily over, 10,000 people there every year.
That's wild.
Right?
Like, imagine spending all this time to plan a trip to go see a rodent.
A large rodent.
You're right. A rodent of unusual size, one might say.
Yeah, because the thing is, too, it's not just, oh, here's a groundhog. Let's see if he sees his shadow. It's Puxatawny Phil.
Yeah.
Who is a special groundhog who's like eternal or something, or just really old.
The other thing about this is the fact that there are multiple other cities and states that claim to have the groundhog. It's just that Punxsutawney Phil is the one that everyone knows.
Yeah.
But there were like 3 or 4 other ones that are supposed to also determine it. And so there's a dispute, like if the groundhogs like don't agree.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, the funny thing is, too, it's like a whole group or something.
Mm-hmm.
And only the president of the groundhog group speaks groundhogese. Because I always wondered, too, like, how do they know the groundhog sees it? I mean, does he come out of his hole and get scared or something?
Mm-hmm.
No. Literally, the president talks to the groundhog, and then the groundhog tells him.
Yeah, it's wild that it is a thing at all.
See, I love it just because it's wacky.
All right, I went to Wikipedia to look up, to see what the other groundhogs were that aren't Punxsutawney Phil.
Okay.
Apparently, it's also celebrated in Canada because Nova Scotia calls it Doc's Day.
Oh, yeah, I remember them talking about it because I think that's the German word for groundhog or something like that.
I believe it.
Yeah, and so it's this whole thing where the president speaks it. He's the only one that can understand. I don't know if when they get a new president, then that president teaches groundhogese to the new...
I don't know. Maybe it's just like if you're born understanding it, you can just inherit the role.
Oh, maybe it's like the Dalai Lama.
Yes.
It's kind of like that. Or kind of like how Harry Potter can speak to snakes.
Yes.
They can speak to groundhogs.
Yep.
But also, too, the groundhog, like, eats the special food. That's how he stays alive for so long.
Yeah. Because, of course.
Yeah.
Because natural groundhogs wouldn't ever be able to do that.
No.
But Punxsutawney Phil, he's a different one. So let's see. We have... here we are. Regional celebrations. There's a number of different ones. So we have Milton, New Jersey has Milltown Mel.
Is that a groundhog?
I think so.
Huh.
Yep. He was another one. Mel died he died last year.
Oh, dang.
Mel died last year.
They don't have an eternal.
They don't have an eternal. Punxsutawney Phil is eternal.
Yeah.
Milltown Mel, he's only here till last year. Stonewall Jackson.
Oh, nice.
Predicts at Space Farm Zoo and Museum. Essex Ed, the groundhog, and Otis the hedgehog. This is a duo. They got a hedgehog and a groundhog at the Turtleback Zoo. Great Neck Greta of Great Neck, Long Island in New York, predicted in 2020. Quigley of the Hamptons predicts at, I don't know how to pronounce that, Quogue Village Fire Department. And then there's Staten Island Chuck.
Yeah, names of places in the Northeast are wild. Like, have you ever seen Family Guy? You know, the names are crazy up there.
Yeah. Wild, some of the naming. But, those are some of the other groundhogs we have to celebrate.
I wonder if there are any other animals that are used for foretelling the future like that.
There's got to be something like that you just, like, look to the owl.
Yeah, if not, we should make one.
Yes.
Like a gecko that tells you if it's going to rain.
We should just do one for every season.
We should.
So we have the summer gecko.
Mm-hmm.
We'll do, let's see, what's a good animal for when winter comes?
Well, if you want others on board, it has to be sort of a cute animal.
You're right.
It can't be like a fall scorpion. People will be like, I don't want to see that.
Yeah. We'll have to research which animals can turn immortal from feeding them food, so we can get other determining creatures like Punxsutawney Phil.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's such weird nonsense. Because the other thing that always throws me for a loop is if he sees his shadow, there's more weeks of winter.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
Because if the sun is out, you can see your shadow.
Yeah.
And if the sun is out, that would imply that there is not going to be 6 more weeks of winter.
Yeah, that's why I always get confused.
And so it doesn't make sense to me. But I'm not the president. I don't speak groundhogese.
Yeah.
So I don't have that knowledge.
You're not in tune to the ancient art of rodent foretelling events.
Unfortunately, I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah, such a weird one. But the movie with Bill Murray is great.
Yeah, I mean, it's a day that goes on forever.
Yep.
And it's associated with Groundhog Day.
I just like that that's the route they decided to go with. Because technically that movie could happen with literally any holiday.
Yeah.
Like, nothing separates it from any other day of the week. It's just that he doesn't care about this dumb holiday.
Right.
So, but you could turn that easily into, like, a bah humbug Christmas movie or something.
Tax Day.
Yes, Tax Day. Some other celebration that you have that guy who just is curmudgeonly.
Right.
You could do that with any day. I just like that they decided, we'll go with the one with the weird furry rodent.
It makes for a good setting.
Does.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
There's lots going on.
It does.
And you could never have that scene of where he's driving with the groundhog. He's telling it to not drive angry.
Yes. The problem is that because isn't Bill Murray in the golf movie?
Caddyshack?
Yeah, Caddyshack.
Yeah.
That has the woodchuck.
Gopher. He's
Gopher.
fighting a gopher.
Okay. There's too many rodents that Bill Murray interacts with in movies for me to know, but it's just, I like that connection.
I'm sure some person on the autism spectrum has made a list of rodents interacted with Bill Murray in movies. We should see.
Perfect. We'll keep track of that.
Yeah.
A tally of how many rodents Bill Murray frequents.
Yeah, because in the movie Scrooge, there was that little mouse where they were talking about stapling
Yes.
antlers onto it.
Yes.
So that's just right off the top of my head.
Man.
I wonder if there was one in What About Bob? I don't think so.
I don't know.
There was a goldfish.
Let's see if just Bill Murray rodents brings up anything on Google.
It's going to be some weird art come up.
All right, Bill Murray and rodents. There's a guy on Twitter who has rodents in Bill Murray movies, and it's just Caddyshack is the one that he has listed.
What did I tell you?
Letterboxd.com has Bill Murray movies that feature rodents. There's also Fantastic Mr. Fox. Technically, not a role that he appears in, but voices, so we'll say that counts.
It's close enough.
It's literally just Groundhog Day, Caddyshack, and Fantastic Mr. Fox. They didn't even list Scrooge. It's not a complete list.
It's not.
Well, it was only updated 5 years ago, so.
I should email him. Be like, look.
Yep. But that's all we have for the amount of rodents that Bill Murray has been with in film, unfortunately.
Yeah.
We'll get some more. I'll just make another movie, just write a script. Hey, Bill Murray, we need you to be in with a different rodent. This time we're going to get a squirrel in. Eventually we'll work our way up to like a capybara. Do one with a beaver.
You know, he might be hard to get, but I'm sure we could do that with Nicolas Cage.
That's true.
Because basically Nicolas Cage, if you pay him, he'll be in anything.
Yeah.
Because that movie where he's fighting the animatronics.
Oh, that one.
That was great because he never spoke in it, so I'm sure they couldn't afford to have him speak.
Yeah.
But they could afford to have him in it.
Exactly.
So that's all we need.
We just need a presence on set like that, you know?
Right. Maybe we can get him involved with our whole concept of animals foretelling seasons.
There we go. That's it. That's how we spin it.
That's what the kids will like. He could basically be the president that is able to speak to the animals.
Yes. Precisely.
Oh, man. We're onto something here.
All right. We'll be back with a script next time.
Hopefully he doesn't have a fear of geckos or anything.
I don't know that he fears much because I mean, you've seen the stuff that he's bought. He bought cobras and like a shark and the octopus or whatever, right?
Yeah, it's really a list of what hasn't Nicolas Cage
That's what
bought.
we'll do. We'll get the animals that he has, and those will be the animals that determine the days. So, like, it'll be Cobra Day, Octopus Day.
Cobra Day. I like that.
Be perfect.
Yeah. Well, I think we covered everything we wanted to cover today.
It was a good discussion. We learned a lot.
We did.
We're aware of so much happening in the world, all the important events like groundhogs and Gumby.
Yeah. That there's a tertiary correlation between Gumby and the Lutheran Church.
It's the worst game of Kevin Bacon.
Right. All right. Well, I think it's time to say goodnight.
All right.
Good night, Richard.
It is.